So we were talking about late last week about how much you share with your children about your job.
Yes.
And
by the way, that was one of our that podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
People loved that thing. Went crazy.
Because when you have career days, you
Yes.
bring your dads in or something like that. Most of the kids don't know what their dads do, depending on what their age is, and then you decipher how much you want to share with that child. And if it's an up and up and it's all good, then that's fine. But, the 4-year-old, what's your dad do? He goes to the office every day. Right. I don't know what he does. What does he do? He just stays there for 5 or 6 hours, and he comes home. And then he goes away again. Sometimes he travels, but I don't know. What does your dad do? He's a fireman or whatever. There's not too many kids that know exactly what their dads do. My kids know what I do here because it's in the house, and they come down. And
you've been doing it for your whole life, and it's you have one of those ones that's very defined.
Yeah. And I tell them to talk about it.
Yeah, but it's very defined. Yeah. It's very defined. This is not you're not in like.
They know dad talks on the radio. My dad talks on the radio.
That's exactly.
And kids think that's really cool.
Yes.
My son goes to Indian Springs, where your son went to school, and it's quite expensive to go to school there. And thank goodness that they work with us on that, because I'm not a wealthy man by any stretch. Unlike yourself.
Shut up.
And so
we busted our asses for 4 years.
So when you see these other kids,
yeah,
and my son is friends with this tight knit group of people, and one guy's dad owns his own company that's been around for 30 years. Another kid got his money from his grandpa, and so because I asked Santa, how are these kids paying for their? You either have to be really rich or really smart to get in, right? Hopefully you're a little bit of both.
Yes.
So there was one, it reminded me of the story, and we spoke about this on the show. There was some type of fundraiser they had there last year or the year before COVID. And we were all talking about, and all the fathers were there. And, of course, I had just gotten fired. And so, what do you do for a living? Everybody, what do you do for a living? Because all the dads are together. Yeah, they did, but there were people outside from Asia. There were fathers there that didn't know who I was.
You're not known in Asia? From
no,
dogs?
Not yet. Not yet. Those Asians don't rock yet. And so I was trying to be, work the room. And, of course, the question is, what do you do for a living? Because everyone wants to know what the hell you do for a living when you can afford to pay $25,000 for your kid to go to school.
Well, okay, that's not why they're not doing it because of that. That's a pleasantry.
No, but you do, because it's a networking tool.
Right, but everybody does. It, men and women. Oh, hello, you so-and-so.
But if you're going to Oak Mountain or Huffman High, so what do you do for a living?
It comes after pleasantries. It comes after my kids play for X number of years, and then it's what do you do for a living?
But it's not a specific question. Is my whole and
yes.
you could be a ditch digger, or you could work for the phone company, or maybe you do have a really high end job at IBM or whatever. Yep. So the question, what do you do for a living? I work in radio, blah 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 blah. And then so I met this one guy, and I said, "What do you do?" He's like, "I'm kind of self-employed. I just kind of I do my own thing."
Yep.
And so he just kind of looked at me, and that's what he said. I'm self-employed. I just do odds and ends. And I'm like,
you asked if he's like a handyman.
And so I said, that's not going to suffice. You can't leave it. I just met the guy. I was like, you're leaving that very well open-ended for me to either think about some things or you're going to ask. And I said, can I continue this conversation?
Oh, that was nice.
And he said, sure. He goes, I've got my degree here and blah, blah, blah. And the guy was like in his 30s.
Oh, he's young.
39, 38, 39. Young. And I was kind of like, and there was another guy beside me that kind of over, and he's like, okay, who's this guy? And da-da-da-da-da. And so the first thing I thought was that maybe he got some type of inheritance or something. Right, because
people are usually a little coy about that because it feels weird, yeah.
So we're walking around. They had artwork for sale, and there was a band playing stuff. So he pulls me, so he goes, come here. Pulls me aside because he knew who I was. He's like, my father's father started the porn industry.
The whole industry?
That's what he said. Okay. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, he was in on the ground level of Penthouse. And then he got into videos, and he was the king of Vivid, Vivid, which I think still exists.
Okay.
And at some point in his career, he decided he was going to sell it off and get out of it because he was 40 years old and he's a porn guy.
Right.
We always talk about it.
That's not cool, right? Porn.
And so he made a lot of money, and then that's how I've kind of. So I'm just kind of. I said you didn't have to explain that to me, but I thought that was really fascinating. So my next question would have been: does your son know that he's going to school on porn money?
See, I could have spun that though, but you could spin that.
Well, you can spin it a lot of different ways
because I'm sure he's had that money invested, right?
Well, sure, but it's still porn money.
Yeah, but he manages his money through investments. That when he gets the help with John Gray,
well, he can spin it any way he wants to, but I mean, it's porn money. It's money he would not have had his grandfather not been in the porn industry.
But if his so this is interesting. Was his dad in the porn industry? Because that's interesting.
His dad had the money, and then I'm not sure how it changed hands. I don't know, but he let it be known that he was in the financial situation he was in because his grandpa was very wealthy. So he said nothing about his dad.
Yeah.
I don't even know if his dad was alive.
So his dad was a
trust fund. It may have been a trust thing or something like that. But it was porn money. It was money that came from making porn videos.
Yeah, it's odd, right? That's not something you hear every day. I mean, that would be like, I don't even know.
Because that question probably, because I asked Santa, what is, he's got a friend named Blue. What's Blue's dad do? Because I'm interested.
Yeah.
And I'm always networking. Maybe we can work together. Yeah. Maybe we got I got a radio station. Right. Maybe I can talk about their products. Maybe they can help me out. Yes. Maybe they can print my shirts, whatever.
You're such a business guy now.
I have to be.
Network.
I have to be. And so when you find out that maybe one of your favorite classmates' dads are 40 years old, 39, and they don't work, and they're I guess you just say I was trust fund or I got a huge inheritance. I've been blessed that I got a huge inheritance. And so at this point, I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do in my life. That's fine. So he told me, and I really appreciate the fact that he told me.
Yeah, that was,
because it was super cool. And I thought, wow. And I even said, wow, because your kids look around, they're living in this monstrosity of a 7-8 or 8-7 or whatever it is. And, their kids probably come over and visit. Friends, classmates, and stuff. And so the question is, gee, what's your dad do for a living?
See, but that's what I think is super interesting that it like potentially skipped a generation.
I'd say I'm in the movie business.
Now, but
because you're not lying that way, I was in the movie business.
But it's interesting because I wonder if his dad was in the porn industry, right? Or if it was just grandfather. Think about this. The reason I say that is you can have family. I mean, this is like, it's not the equivalent of being in the mafia, but you could have money, right, that was made 2 generations ago from some questionable things. It then passes on, right? And then again, like I said, you get a John Gray involved, and now you're in. It's an inheritance. It's an inheritance, and so he could say, I have a series of investments. I'm an investor.
Yeah,
that's what I would have said.
Yeah,
I'm an investor.
So there is this social media darling. And she is an influencer, and her name is Ava Louise. She's a TikTok influencer. She's the one that started the whole lick the toilet seat challenge. She's also on OnlyFans. She's very attractive. And her name, again, is Ava Louise, if you want to pull up just to do some research. She's got her own OnlyFans. So this past weekend, she was on and she made a TikTok video.
Okay.
And she found out that her father is on a sugar daddy website.
Oh.
She posted a video detailing her purported cringeworthy discovery currently, which boasts nearly 1 million views on the platform. When I found my father on the sugar daddy dating website I was using. She's 22. In description of the clip, which shows her reacting to the uncomfortable bombshell. In the footage caption, the blonde Fluencer and part-time sugar baby described how she messaged him, "Hi, Dad," whereupon he blocked me and he never spoke of it. When she actually got on his site and said, "Hi, Dad, I know you're on it," and then he blocked her. When a commentator inquired why she reached out to him on a sugar daddy social network to catch him instead of her phone, she replied, "He doesn't answer my text. I thought he might answer me there."
Oh, well, so they're strange.
Yeah. The social media star didn't divulge whether her dear dad confirmed or denied being a fairy godfather.
What a cluster.
However, when she told her mom about the exchange, he reportedly bought her a Cartier bracelet.
He's married?
Yeah. So evidently this sugar daddy thing is a side hustle thing.
Okay, that's just like, are you going to ask me to comment on that? That's just like, that's such a mess.
No, but it goes along with our pattern of what happens when you find out your dad does something that you're not either cool with or you're not proud of, or
but
back in our generation when your dad worked his ass off 60 hours a week, and my dad did that throwing newspapers, I was proud of that. Now kids have dads that don't have very lucrative jobs. They don't even talk about what their dad does because they're not particularly proud of it, and that's really, really sad to me. I've been in a position where my kids will always talk about what I do because what I do is cool, right? Regardless of whether I make any money doing it or not.
Well, that's
cool.
exactly.
And my dad's a TV personality, or my dad's a psychologist. But if he's got a lower end job, maybe he's working front.
Well,
then some kids, my dad's in the restaurant industry.
No, well, that is. I mean,
they don't mention the fact that he's a server.
That's exactly. That's a hard thing. But that's just messed up on so many different levels.
Yeah,
she's on. He's married. She's not talking. He's not answering her text.
The apple doesn't far fall from the
that's
tree,
exactly. Yes. Well, I will tell you this. And it's not hard. You don't have to be a psychologist to do this. Is when there's just a disaster of a situation, the person comes in.
Yeah.
I don't mean like depression or suicide. Just kind of, they're a mess.
Yeah.
This, and I can't find a job, and my relationships are a mess. And, the first place you're going, even though you're not supposed to, tell me a little bit about your upbringing and your family life. And it's not 100% of the time, 90% of the time.
Yeah.
It's just, it just starts. I mean, all of the pieces and the threads and that's the thing that, people always say, they joke about psychologists. Is it my mother's fault that I'm this way?
Mm-hmm.
Is what? Yes.
Yeah.
It's your fault too, but it is your mother's fault. I mean, that's a classic example. I mean, every once in a while you do see a perfectly well-adjusted family, and then there's one bad egg.
Yeah.
And typically that's a substance abuse. That's kind of where I see it, right?
Yeah.
Family's reasonably okay. But rarely when somebody's got a problem, I'm not saying, again, the family's crazy, but you link everybody's pathology, you link them back to their parents, and you can link their parents back to their parents, and it's absolutely fascinating to watch. If somebody is, somebody is a pretty aggressive person, or they have attachment issues, or they are jumping from relationship to relationship, pick any of those ones. You immediately go back and you can see it in the family.
Yeah.
Parenting style, relationship modeling. And then what's even more interesting, even though you don't really do it or need to, is then you ask about their parents.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
It just keeps going. It may get more diluted as you go back. Absolutely. We are a product of two things. One, just the way we're wired, but two, generations and generations of what we were exposed to shapes everything we can. And this is what I tell people about going therapy. Your job, if you want to improve your life, you're like, my life is messed up, I can't stand the way I am, then immediately what you are fighting is your patterns, which chances are got passed down to you by your parents, but it is up to you to decide, are you going to overcome those or not? Because a lot of people sort of just, it comes from my mother. Yeah, it does come from your mother, but like either your mother's dead or she's 80 or yes.
Yeah.
But it's your life.